see if we've got sound and if we've got audio and if we've got muffled sound like I've got duct tape across my mouth. I don't care. I just want to know that my audio is now working. It appears as though I can record, so the mic is connected. Um, but I don't know. I don't know until somebody comes in and tells me. Now I'm paranoid. So we'll see if somebody comes in. At any rate, I'm going to continue with the story and we'll go from there. So this huge rhinoceros was in the yard. He was dancing, and yeah, well, maybe that was the mushrooms. I'm kidding. I'm just rambling, or as the folks across the pond call it, waffling. I'm a waffler, but I think I've tried it 4 times now, and so nobody's going to come in now. I have no idea what interrupted my audio on the second one. That was just weird. And I think I'm probably just going to give up for the morning and we will go live coming back south when we can get the good view of mountains. Yeah, that's the plan. All right. I don't think I'm going to post any of these this morning. Maybe the first one, but we'll see what it looks like and how bad that buffering was. Hi, Jody. Can you hear me? I've been having audio troubles this morning. I don't know if I've got my audio working. Oh, thank you. I've been sitting here going live and being paranoid. Good morning, dear. How are you? It's a beautiful sunny day here south of Seattle. I think it's Route 66 across the border, all the way down the Mexican border in San Diego. Um, but right now we are going through a nuclear called Tukwila. Um, Tuesday mornings I have to take a 2.5 hour drive up to the wound care center to get my foot looked at. Um, and it's about 2.5 hours up with traffic and about an hour coming back. It's not really that hot. Yesterday we got up into the mid 70s, which is very hot for me because I'm not a fan of hot weather. But our really hot weather doesn't show up until after the 4th of July. Yeah, I can deal with mid 70s. Um, the last couple of years, the third week of July has been miserable. We actually set records last summer, getting upwards of 112 degrees, which is ridiculous for this winter, with a few exceptions all of my life. And there's never been temperatures like that. Um, yeah, I mean, it was to the point where work even shut down. I do residential and commercial, well, residential HVAC and commercial HVAC and refrigeration. And they didn't want us out on rooftops and stuff. So work was shut down for those 3 days. Oh, how nice. I just got a warning crash when I had 20-minute delay. Luckily, I got plenty of time. But yeah, yeah. But that, like I said, that usually we really don't get warm weather until after the 4th of July. That's been the running joke in Seattle for years. We don't get our summer till the 4th of July. But we had some nice days prior to. Um, on the way south, there's one portion of maybe 30 seconds to get a great view of Mount Rainier. It used to be a lot better before Seattle grew so big and the pollution became a problem. Um, the difference between what the mountain looks like up here and what it looks like closer down by my house. We live about a third or halfway up mountain here, and which is one of the tallest, if not the tallest, one of the tallest on the west coast. Uh, and if you remember Mount St. Helens, that's the volcano that blew in 1980. That's an hour and a quarter south of us. Um, but as you get out towards my house, you get just some phenomenal views of the mountain because it's not blocked by the pollution. Like right now, the skies are normally beautiful blues, and it's really just kind of a hazy gray between me and the sky. So on the way back south, probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock, something like that, I'll turn it back on and try and get you that view of Mount Rainier. I've done a couple of short lives coming up into Bonnie Lake, which is really where you get one of the best views of Mount Rainier. Uh, uh, Now we're hitting bad traffic. Although all these people think the left 2 lanes are the fastest, and they're not. The trucks actually, because they leave such great following distances, the right 2 lanes are the ones that really give you the fastest movement. They go slower, but their gaps are bigger, so they really never stop. And we're just coming into the south end of Seattle city limits. To the left of us is Boeing International Airport, uh, or it may be called Seattle International Airport now, but that's where Boeing airplanes started. Um, Boeing Museum of Flight is there, uh, which is really cool. Well, I'm an aviation nut, so it's but it's cool because they still have the tools that they used when they originally started building airplanes over there. They're in the basement, and they were all steam powered and belt driven in the Museum of Flight. Uh, Most of the planes aren't built here anymore. Most of the planes are built that are built in Washington are built at the Renton plant and at the Everett plant. And then Boeing, because the governor, we called her Governor Christie because she looked like Christie, Christine Gregoire, wouldn't fight to keep Boeing in Washington, and so Boeing's headquarters moved to South Carolina. Uh, so there's a plant over there that I believe is building 737. Um, but when I was able to fly, that's I flew out of Boeing Field. I had to give up my pilot's license because of medical reasons. Um, there's actually, yeah, you see the gap that his blue truck on the right has in front of him. That's why that lane moves so fast. Because when the other lanes come to a stop, that one's still going to move a quarter of a mile. I'm just trying to get ahead of this blue truck so I can move up. It's all jockeying for position. There we go. Now I can get around it. I don't know. That's kind of scary. That one looks like the one that rear-ended 2 years ago. Yeah, this is actually really nice. You can see the traffic on the left, 2 lanes is just dead stopped, and we're just cruising right along. Not fast. I mean, we're going 30, but we're certainly moving faster than they're moving. And I have to admit, it's very green here, which is beautiful. Um, we get up here a little bit further, you'll be able to see the Space Needle and the skyline of Seattle. And if I can, I will show you the Columbia Center. You'll see, obviously, it's the tallest building in Seattle, and it was uh, when it was built, it was the tallest building west of Mississippi. But the funny thing is, the Smith Tower we may be able to see, and the Smith Tower was built, and when it was built, it was the tallest building west of Mississippi, and it doesn't. It's ridiculous to see how short it is compared to everything else, and to think that that was the tallest building west of the Mississippi in 1934. Uh, Starbucks has headquarters up here on the left. I don't know if we'll actually be able to see it from the freeway, at least not from this plane. I think from the left plane you can see it. I'm going to take the phone down here in a second and shoot it out the passenger window. We actually have two mountain ranges in Seattle, in the Washington area. We've got the Cascades, of which Mount Rainier, Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, and Mount St. Helens are part of. And then we have the Olympic Mountain Range, which is we're at Seattle's actually inland quite a ways from the Pacific Ocean. We're on a tributary called the Puget Sound, and I don't know if we're going to do a decent view of the Olympics or not. Well, maybe you can kind of see them. They're just popping up over the foreground hill. Um, it's beautiful up here. Like I said, I've lived here with a few exceptions, all of my life. I've been to Florida, lived in Southern California for a little while. Uh, I've traveled some, but not other than Canada, not out of the country. Um, I've had this dream to buy a catamaran sailboat and sail around the world, but I think that one passed me by a few years ago. Uh, I don't think my health could take it anymore. But you never know. Never say never, right? We're going to come down here a little bit further and start moving left, and then we'll another mile and a half or so, and we'll be into the view of Seattle. If you haven't seen it, I showed off one of Seattle's landmarks uh, last week or the week before when I was up here. Uh, Dick's Burgers. That's our answer to In-N-Out Burger and Whataburger and all the other places, the rest of the places in the country. Hi, Bern. Welcome back, buddy. I finally figured out how to fix the audio, and I think my buffering could be good too. Um, yeah, this is the part where it gets thick. Uh, I don't want to mess with this. It said that there was a crash ahead a little while ago on my GPS. Oh, it's just ahead. I can see the police lights. Maybe yeah, I think I'll stay over here until we get by that. That's why it's so bad right here. Usually it moves, but I think we're gonna bump over one more. Excuse me. Trying to see and figure out exactly which way the accident's in. It looks like it's in the left lane. I don't know if you guys can pick up the flashing lights yet. Supposed to be one of the busiest years for construction construction in Seattle. There's supposed to be 119 tower cranes up in the air this summer in Seattle, which is ridiculous. If you're coming southbound on I-5, there's an area where you can see them all, and it looks like the entire city of Seattle has huge birdhouses up all over the place. Ding dang. Hey Larry, welcome in, buddy. I'm just thinking around stuck in traffic. Um, Although we got to get by what looks to be this accident up here, and then as we come around the corner, you'll start to see downtown Seattle. So imagine how quickly it would have come into your field of vision had we been moving. Um, Kind of funny. Seattle has started painting their buses like with graffiti art. And I think that's because I think that sort of as they drive down the freeway, you can't tell what's a bus and what's graffiti. I don't know. This third lane is starting to move, so we're gonna jump one more. It looked like the police lights were in this lane. But this is normally about where I would jump into this lane. It's a beautiful area, Larry. It really is. I mean, I was born and raised here for the most part. I've been out of state living a couple of times, but uh, it's pretty much got everything. If you love the ocean, we've got the Pacific Ocean 100 miles to the west. Seattle's on, like I said earlier, the Puget Sound, which is a huge body of water that's actually part of the Pacific Ocean. Comes through the Strait of Juan de Fuca and then down into the Puget Sound. And so there's tons of water sports. If you like hiking, you've got mountain ranges both to the west and to the east. Um, if you like farmlands, fields and fields of wheat and corn, eastern Washington is just full of farmland. It's beautiful over there. It's dry, but it's beautiful. I was just going to mention Yakima, as a matter of fact. Yeah, over towards Yakima in the south, and Wenatchee in the north. Um, yeah, fishing and hunting is great. I do fish. I don't do a lot of hunting. Uh, but yeah, it's an awesome area. And the evergreens. I mean, man, even in the dead of winter, it's still green. It's and the colors in the fall. I mean, the, up towards excuse me, get a sip here. Uh, I haven't seen it in person, but I'm told up in Vermont and from the pictures I've seen up in the New England area that they're just phenomenal fall colors. And we get the colors. We don't get the deep reds most of the time, but we get tons of oranges and beautiful browns. light reds. So we get the fall colors, and we do get all 4 seasons. Uh, Seattle proper doesn't get a lot of snow. They may get hit every few years. Up where we are, we get snow pretty much every year. I don't know if they're related, but I know some passengers. At least that's how they pronounce it. Could be passenger too, but they pronounce it passenger. Um, my goodness, it's ridiculous. It looks like all the emergency lights are gone, so now we just got to deal with catching up. Hey, Tiger, happy birthday from yesterday, buddy. Yeah, actually, traffic hasn't been too bad. It's really bad right here, but it hasn't been too bad for the most part. Um, now we're starting. Yeah, in just a second here, you'll be able to see downtown Seattle pretty well. Space Needle should be way off to the left, uh, and then you'll start to see the rest of the city coming. First building you'll see sticking up is the Columbia Center, which is 104 stories, I think. And they've played games with it. Shortly after they built it, it was the tallest building west of the Mississippi, and then they built one in Southern California. Got to have them on, Tiger. Um, and you're one of the best. So, um, uh, anyway, Southern California, they put up one that was like 1 story taller. So the people that own the Columbia Center decided to lease to a radio station a 300-foot antenna to put on top of it, and they claimed that made them again the tallest building west of the Mississippi. And so there were actually lawsuits filed over it. It was the dumbest thing ever. I mean, it wasn't like that was going to lease out more of their floor space. Uh, and I don't know. I had 4 lives going this morning altogether. Uh, and yeah, I had 4 lives going this morning with audio trouble. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on this one, but yeah, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, Smith Tower was the tallest building when it was built uh, in 1934. And in comparison, it's just silly how low it is. We're coming up on the Spokane Street exit. Tiger knows Seattle pretty well. Um, So that's where we are. We're coming up on the Spokane Street. Yeah, almost I-90. You have, yeah, well, what probably wasn't from Mount Rainier, it was probably from Mount St. Helens. That was the big thing after it erupted. Eastern Washington got covered in it. Um, one of my exes was in Yakima, as a matter of fact, when when the mountain blew, and she went from her house up to her mom's house in Moses Lake, which is about an hour, maybe less, trying to run from the ash because at that point they said it was going southeast. And she ended up with 4 inches of ash on the ground up at her mom's place. Um, yeah, St. Helens. That's okay. Um, I don't know if you guys can see it yet, but the Space Needle is just kind of poking up just to the left of the trees in the middle of the fray. Um, uh, anyway, as we come around the corner, I'm going to try and show you the Smith Tower in comparison. Yeah, we actually live like half or 3/4 of the way, or half, a third to the half way up Mount Rainier. Um, oh, it reached clear to Spokane, Tiger. They had an inch and a half of ash in Spokane. They were cars weren't able to move because the ash would get sucked into the air filters and plug them. It was real bad. On this side of the Cascades, we didn't have a lot. We did get a dusting. Lots of paint jobs were ruined because people didn't know how to get it off their cars. Um, Now you can start to see Seattle coming into view. Um, the big, tall, black building in the middle, that's the Columbia Center. And Space Needle is way off to the left. You might be able to see the roof of our two stadiums, T-Mobile Park, and I can't remember what they just renamed the other one to. Some other sponsor. And I can't pick out Smith Tower from here, but I think that there's a spot further up that I can. Hey, Prairie Wolf, how are you, honey? I'm going to take this down for a minute and show you the Port of Seattle over there with all the tower cranes. Or all, yeah, also those aren't tower cranes; those are dock cranes, but you can see them over there. Um, yes, that's Seattle. Uh, we're kind of coming downhill, and so you'll be able to see less and less of it for a minute until I get under the Spokane Street Viaduct. Now you can kind of see it off to the left there. I don't know if you can catch the Space Needle way off to the left, just kind of peeking out. Space Needle was built for the 1962 World's Fair. And if any of you are old enough to remember, that's where Elvis filmed. It happened at the World's Fair. Yeah, it's an awesome view from the restaurant up there. I don't know recently, but Used to be the food was terrible and it was very expensive. Oh, look at that! You can see Starbucks. We just as we headed behind these trees on my left, I could see the Starbucks building. Yeah, just for an instant, but we'll see if we can see it when the trees break down here further. I didn't realize that showed that well from over here. Um, yeah, there's a restaurant on the top of the Rainier Bank building called the Mirabu. If you want to, it doesn't spin. The restaurant in the Space Needle turns. So in an hour's time, you get to see all the way around Seattle. Um, but on top of the Rainier Bank building is the Mirabu. That food is spectacular, and the view is actually about equivalent, but you only get to see out towards Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. You don't get to see the other direction. Um, yeah, yeah, food's still terrible. That's funny. They were boasting about they got a new head chef up there maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because that's been a running joke. Oh, we want to go see the Space Needle when somebody comes into town. They have a restaurant up there, I hear, and they say, "Yeah, we can go for the view, but you don't want to order anything." Oh, absolutely, it's a tourist trap. And the sad part is, those elevators, the elevators to go up to the top only hold about 13 people. So there's always an incredible line to go up and down. They only have four elevators, and two of them are always broken. Yeah, my voice is starting to go, uh, and that's A from talking, B a little bit from cigarettes, and C because of the fires in Alberta. We're getting a smoke layer down here already. Yeah, last or 2 summers ago when they had the huge wildfires up in Alberta, we were getting smoked out badly. All right, on the left at the top of that yellow building, you can see a big R. Um, that was originally the Rainier Brewing Company. If you've heard of Rainier beer, that's where it came from. And then eventually Rainier shut down and Tully's Coffee bought it. And they put a big T up there for Tully's. And really, in the city of Seattle threw a fit because that R was a Seattle landmark. So Tully's took the T down and put the R back up. Some of Seattle's fun but dumb history. All right, get up here a little bit more and see if I can pick out Smith Tower for you. I can see it plain as day, but I don't know how to explain where it is to you guys. All right, let's try this. Over there, you can see about middle of frame. There's a medium short, looks like a white building with a peaked roof on it, straight up like a church steeple roof. That's the Smith Tower. That was built in 1934. When it was built, it was the tallest building west of the Mississippi. Um, we got a bump over a lane. Um, okay, we're over. Um, there are definitely points you can get an awesome view from here, or in Seattle. I'm gonna try and get you a shot of the Olympics again. They're not really visible because of the smoke and smog, uh, and most of the snow is gone off the top of them. But over there, if you can see past the truck, that was nice of him. Nope. All right, we'll try again in a minute. And yeah, I don't know you're going to be able to see that. It's really hazy out that direction. Hey, KNG, buddy, how are you? We're just doing my normal Tuesday morning drive up to Seattle to the Wound Care Center. Yeah, it's a nice day. The smoke from the Alberta fires is so bad, it's just, you can't really see the blue sky. It's just kind of bluish haze. 47. I think we're supposed to be at mid 70s today. But it was cold enough this morning when we took the dogs out that we had the porch heaters open. We got about a mile to the exit. And then we'll be out of this mess and into another mess. The I-90 collector distributor road. It's humid there. We don't have a lot of problems with humidity, which is kind of surprising with as much water as there is around here. You'd think on hot days the evaporation would bring our humidity up, but it doesn't. Although it's not a dry heat like in Phoenix, but this sucks. I hate driving behind big trucks. Yes, exactly. There was a quick mind melt there, Barry. Now I'm in the lane I have to be in to take the exit. The one on the right that's going by us is going to go off on I-90. And although I could take it and then jump back in, the people that do that tick me off because many of them will try and cut the front of your truck off or your car off. It's supposed to hit 80. That's too hot for me, Larry. I mean, once you get to naked, that's as good as you can get. I mean, luckily we have a heat pump, so the air conditioning's there. But it's kind of funny. Our house was built in 1900. When we bought it, it had one 8-foot baseboard heater and 3 tight wall heaters for 2,000 square feet. No heat upstairs at all. So the first winter cost me $4,800 to heat the house. At that point, I knew I had to put the heat pump in and all the ductwork. And so I started scrounging and I helped out. I worked for one place and helped out another place. And I also there are many techs that I've worked with who need help from now and then, from time to time, now and then. And so this one guy kept calling me on this heat pump system in his house, but he always called me after he left, so I could never walk him through some stuff to figure out exactly what was going on. But the air conditioner wasn't keeping up with the house at all. So I finally said, look, don't call me again until you are there and we can walk through it. And then I can tell you what's wrong with it. So a few weeks go by and he calls me and he says, all right, I'm on site. What do you want me to do? So I ran him through a bunch of tests and I finally said, there's no way that this is not working. Everything is perfect. The pressures are good, the refrigerant level's good, airflow's good, everything's perfect. There's no way. And then it dawned on me. I said, how big is the house? Or I said, how big is the unit? And he said, 3 tons, 12,000 BTUs a ton. Air conditioning automatically dehumidifies very well. That's the nature of the beast. They collect water out of the air. Um, I said, how big's the house? He said, 5,000 square feet. I said, there's your problem. I have a 3 ton heat pump on my 2,000 square foot house. He needed a 5 ton heat pump. Well, luckily the guy had a bunch of money, and so he said, well, then take it out and replace it. So that's what they did. And so I had him drag that 3 ton heat pump back home. It was a 4-year-old Train heat pump, so virtually new. So I dragged that back to my house. My kid also was working for another company. So he scrounged some ductwork up, and one of his buddies, him and I came out and we installed the heat pump in our house on a weekend. And voila, my power bills went down to $200 a month, or $200 every 2 months. All right, now we're out of the I-5 traffic, which you can now see is moving better, and we are into the collector distributor road, which isn't. All right, I'm going to move the phone again, and you can see the stadiums. There's T-Mobile Park, which is where they play baseball, and over there is Lumen Field, and that's where they play football and soccer and hold outdoor concerts, which is kind of stupid because we've got White River Amphitheater down the road in Auburn, which is an excellent venue. Most of the promoters and bands say the only venue. Uh, no, that's the Gorge. The Gorge is over in kind of by George Washington, which is a small city over in Eastern Washington, which is a phenomenal venue. All right, Jody, thank you for being here, honey. It's been wonderful having you in. Um, and the Gorge is second only to Red Rock in Colorado. The views from the Gorge are phenomenal. It overlooks the Columbia River. Yeah, I was wondering that same thing. Yeah, that's our problem is like that too, Larry. The house was built in 1900, and there's no insulation. There's little bits and pieces here and there, and the area that the new insulation is has like R4 in the ceiling and walls. Should be R20 in the walls and R35 in the ceiling. And my best shot would be to do uh, foam, drill holes in the walls and drop foam into the holes. Uh, but re-insulating an old house is incredibly expensive, and so it's not something we've gotten around to. That's what I'm talking about, the spray foam. And you really kind of have to have that done professionally, because if you overfill it by just a tiny amount, your walls, the sheetrock in your walls will expand. Even in the 70s, Larry, they didn't put a lot of insulation in. Yeah, yeah. When we remodeled well, no, that one was as I've worked in the trades and been involved in remodels. Um, yeah, even into the early 80s, there wasn't a lot of insulation going in, and they certainly weren't building houses as airtight as they are now. I mean, now we actually have to do. It's called the blower door test, and basically you close all the windows and block off all the vents that bring in fresh air from outside, and then they put a big fan in the door of the house and block off the remaining door area, and then they literally pressurize the house, and there has to be less than a 4% drop in pressure in the house, and that's for the new energy code. And what's funny is that they demand 4 complete air changes per hour in the house. So you build them that tight, and then we have to go in and cut holes in it to bring in fresh air and put that on a timer so that it'll, a 2,000 square foot house. That means it has to change at least 600 cubic feet of air every hour. That's a lot of cold air coming in the wintertime. Oh, yeah, houses are money pits, absolutely. How about that? We may kind of get a short view of the Smith Tower between the trees. Just a second here, and I'll bump the camera out the window again. That's kind of silly. Why would you put a bike rack on the back of a pickup? Yeah, this is emerging from Mercer Island on up from I-90. Um, Boy, out here, Larry, it'd be 4 times that. I don't know what property values are there, but jeepers. I mean, a 4,000 square foot house on a single lot uh, would be more than that. Even a 3,000 square foot house. All right, we're going to get the Smith Tower here in just a second. Right there. See a little peak building over there? That's the Smith Tower. All right, let's get moving here. All right, away we go. Property taxes, it really depends on the county you're in, the city you're in. Seattle, they're ridiculous. Um, just to give you an example, uh, uh, sales tax in Seattle is 10.2%. I live is 0.7%. Not like there's a lot to buy there. They just closed down our mini market in town. Uh, Offhand, I don't know what Seattle is. On my house is worth about 460, and I pay 248, 249, something like that per year, which really isn't too bad. Well, if you want to live, I go where Larry is. Jesus. There's a 5 acre property out by me with a double wide mobile on it, and they want 2.4 million for it. Actually, that's not bad, Larry, for the property. I mean, like again, it varies on the area, but we're way over that. Wow. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Wow. 3 grand. Are you right in town somewhere? Man, yes, it is. Healthcare is very expensive. It's ridiculous that we're, uh, yeah, don't get me started on that one. Yeah, I know you're in the country. Sorry, Larry, I was asking Prairie Wolf if she was in town. If you're in a big city, I can see the property taxes being that high. I mean, it's still very high, but like Seattle. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see Seattle be that high. Not at all. Outside of Calgary. Oh wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that would have been that high, but yeah, yeah. Some of that's having it appraised or assessed right. If you can get your assessment modified to be exactly what it is, rather than what the city or state appraiser thinks it is, that can make a huge difference. There's a guy in town, and Wilkinson is a tiny town, 450 people population. Um, and there was a guy in town who got bought 20 chicks and raised them up to chickens. And it was just so they had eggs. But he got his house rezoned as farmland, and it wasn't farmland. It wasn't even a quarter-acre lot. It was just a normal size house lot, and managed to get the appraiser to re-identify his property as farmland, and it dropped his property tax. Oh, Jesus, renting from the city, that doesn't help. All right, guys, I'm about half a mile from the parking garage when I got to go down and in, and I know I'm going to lose signal, so I got to end this for this morning. But I love you all for being here. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Yeah, yeah, it's funny how he just put chickens in his yard and called it farmland. Yep. Thank you everybody for being here. And I'm gonna try and go live again on the way back so you can see Mountain here. Otherwise, I'll be up again next Tuesday morning. Thanks, folks. Bye now.